Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled Legality versus Morality. I've been thinking a lot about the legal system lately, and one truth keeps resurfacing. It's not really about who's right or who's wrong. It's about who has the most money. That's the real currency of justice in America. You could be someone who blatantly breaks the law, someone who disregards rules, causes harm, and operates without a shred of integrity. Yet, if you have the right financial resources, you can walk away untouched. Money buys power, and in the courtroom, power comes in the form of elite legal representation. The best lawyers don't just argue cases. They reshape narratives, suppress evidence, and manipulate perception. If you can afford the top legal minds, you can essentially rewrite your story. You can be guilty of heinous crimes and still emerge legally innocent. Take O.J. Simpson, for example. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His wife and her friend were brutally murdered, and all signs pointed to him. Yet, he walked free. Why? Because he had the dream team, a group of high-profile attorneys, including Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian. Their skill, combined with Simpson's wealth, turned a murder trial into a spectacle. That case wasn't won on truth. It was won on strategy, theatrics, and money. And it set a precedent. Justice can be bought. The courtroom, then, isn't a place where morality is weighed. It's a battleground of resources. The side with the most money often wins, regardless of guilt. This disconnect between legality and morality is what disturbs me most. You can be legally innocent and still be morally reprehensible. People hide behind verdicts. They say, "I wasn't convicted, so I must be innocent." But we know better. We've seen the evidence. We've seen the trauma. Morality doesn't require a judge's approval. It's rooted in truth, empathy, and the impact of one's actions. And often, it stands in direct opposition to legal outcomes. Someone can be a monster in real life and still be declared innocent in court. That's the flaw in the system. It doesn't measure character, only technicalities. The legal system is built on loopholes, procedures, and burdens of proof. Morality is built on conscience, accountability, and lived experience. That's why I don't let court decisions dictate how I view someone. I look at the evidence, the behavior, and the consequences of their actions. In cases of sexual assault, for instance, victims often face uphill battles. They carry trauma, shame, and fear, while the accused walks free due to superior legal defense. Wealthy defendants can hire lawyers with decades of experience, experts in dismantling testimony, discrediting victims, and exploiting procedural gaps. Meanwhile, victims often rely on public defenders. These attorneys are overworked, underfunded, and juggling dozens of cases. They do the best they can, but they're outmatched. It's not a fair fight. One side has a legal army. The other has a single soldier with limited resources. And in that imbalance, justice is often lost. There are countless cases where victims of sexual violence are denied justice. The evidence is there. The trauma is real. But the courtroom fails them. You can see it in the way victims carry themselves. The pain is etched into their posture, their voice, their silence. Criminal psychologists recognize these signs instantly. But the law doesn't always recognize trauma. It demands proof, documentation, and airtight arguments. It doesn't always honor lived experience. So when someone walks free, I don't automatically assume innocence. I ask myself what the evidence says, what the victim's story reveals, what morality demands. Just because a courtroom deems someone not guilty doesn't mean they're free from what they did. It just means they escaped legal consequences. They can still be morally bankrupt. They can still be a demon in disguise. And that's how I choose to see them, through the lens of truth, not technicality. I hold people accountable based on what I know, not what a judge declares. If the evidence points to guilt, I don't need a conviction to believe it. Sometimes justice is served. Sometimes the system works. But even then, the punishment often doesn't match the crime. A murderer might get 20 years. The victim's family suffers for a lifetime. Meanwhile, the killer gets out in their 40s and lives another 40 years. That's not justice. That's a compromise. And it's one that favors youth, privilege, and legal maneuvering over true accountability. The American legal system is deeply flawed. It's not built to protect the vulnerable. It's built to serve those who can afford protection. There's commentary everywhere. Videos, articles, interviews, exposing the corruption. The system isn't designed for fairness. It's designed for power. I saw this play out in a mundane moment once. I was in line at Walmart, returning a broken item. The person ahead of me, probably in their 70s or 80s, was denied a refund due to policy. They were furious. They threatened to sue Walmart. I couldn't help but laugh, not out of cruelty, but out of recognition. Walmart is a corporate giant. They have legal teams that could bury anyone in paperwork. They could spend millions without blinking. That man didn't stand a chance. But I understood his frustration. He wasn't trying to win a lawsuit. He was trying to reclaim dignity. He was trying to push back against a system that didn't care. Walmart has been sued before. They've paid out millions in damages. One woman received $2 million after being wrongfully accused of theft and banned from the store. So it's not impossible, but it takes overwhelming evidence, relentless persistence, and often years of litigation. Most people don't have the stamina or resources for that. It reminds me of another case, the infamous McDonald's coffee incident in 1992. A woman was severely burned by scalding coffee and asked for $20,000 to cover medical bills. McDonald's refused. They dragged the case out for years. Eventually, she was awarded millions, all because the corporation chose greed over empathy. That case became a punchline, but the truth was sobering. The burns were third degree. The suffering was real, and McDonald's could have resolved it with a fraction of the cost. These stories aren't isolated. They're symptoms of a system that values profit over people, procedure over principle, and legality over morality. So when I think about justice, I don't think about courtrooms. I think about truth. I think about the people who suffer. I think about the evidence that never gets its day. Morality isn't bound by verdicts. It's bound by conscience. And that's the compass I follow, because the legal system lost its way a long time ago. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.